दोनों भी ना सेम चॉइस LIC।
LIC ट्रेंडिंग विद टाइम्स, 62 सालों से हर जनरेशन की पसंद।
Hello and welcome to Hot Money on Bloomberg Quint Live, India's first digital live streaming business news service. This is a show which gives you a complete wrap of all the stocks that are buzzing in trade. I'm Darshan Mehta. Let's welcome our experts then. Forum Parekh of India Bulls Ventures, T.S. Hariyar of HRBV Client Solution, and Ritesh Ashar of KIFS Trade Capital. He'll join us in a while. But today on Hot Money, we'll discuss some of the stocks that we'll discuss. And the first one is SBI, came out with their numbers yesterday. We'll discuss how the numbers were. Cipla is down almost more than 10% in the last two trading sessions, post a weak number and post a weak outlook as far as their business is concerned. Jet Airways, we're asking our guests whether they'll take a contra bet on Jet Airways since the counter has fallen significantly. Is it the right time to start accumulating Jet Airways? And the final stock that we want to talk about is the top Diwali pick that our guests have at this point of time. But we'll start with the first one, and that is the big one. SBI came out with numbers yesterday pretty much in line with estimates, but the counter has reacted negatively. It's down 1.5% in trade. So Hariyar, I'll start with you. What did you make of the SBI numbers? Would you consider accumulating SBI at these levels?
Yeah, I think I would. In fact, I thought the numbers were interesting for a couple of reasons. One, the 945 crores profit that they gave was actually about 200 crores more than what the street was estimating. So I think to that extent, yes, it's positive. I think they have come back into profits after about 3 quarters of losses. So I would believe that probably the worst of the NPA cycle seems to have been factored into the stock. If you look at the specifics, I think NIM, net interest margins, they've improved. The provisions almost they've halved. If you look at the gross NPAs, it's fallen below the 10% mark. So I think, to me, the positives seem to be more than the negatives at this point of time. And the biggest thing I think is that the NCLT write back of 1 lakh crores that the banks are going to get in this particular year, I think a chunk of that is going to go to SBI anyway. So I think that will again be a boost to the profit. So we like SBI. I think at 290, 295, the downside risk to me seems to be very limited. So we would definitely go in and buy SBI at these prices.
Okay, I'll just reminded by your comment of the SBI management. Every quarter they just keep saying the worst is over somehow. it will depend on where the worst will actually get over. Forum, what have you advised your clients post seeing the SBI numbers?
Yeah, so I very much agree to what he said. You know, SBI numbers have come really very good, and it shows signs of improvement, which is like a breather. We have seen significant reduction in the asset qualities. You know, the NPAs have come, lower, and it's continuously declining, which is like a good thing. And I personally feel that, you know, the year of pain is over for SBI, and we might see like a good, like recovery in the, results. Improvement is there on the cards, and it's visible because on every parameter, if you see the NII, even of course, the bottom line this time has come because of 1x item, but then the biggest positive is like slippages are going down and asset qualities are improving. So I think that we should definitely buy SBI at current levels. Even valuations are attractive, so there are more goods, positive in the stock result than the negatives.
Okay, do you all have official coverage on SBI?
We have recommended clients, and we do feel that, the kind of result and everything is there. It augurs for a good 10-15% upside. And of course, this stock remains like a portfolio stock and not for trading perspective. So one should definitely have 1 year horizon at least, before investing in this stock.
Okay, so that's the view. Ritesh, what did you make of SBI numbers?
See, definitely it's among the largest commercial bank and having 1/5 of the market share in India, having branches all across 22,000 plus, and international level also they have the branches of 178 all across. In terms of numbers, I'm very impressed in terms of the way the gross NPA and net NPA have been managed. The provision have quite impressive. Asset quality has improved. There is if you compare with last quarter two with this quarter two, there is a revenue dip by almost 40%. But we need to consider in detail. Last year they have sold around 5,000 crore plus of SBI Life stake, and because of that reason, that income have been considered. At the same time, the trading income has also fallen down drastically compared to the last quarter two with this quarter two. So all in all, the results are really good. Fundamental point of view, definitely it is in buying opportunity in every dip. But considering that the stock has bounced back from 250 to 300 odd levels, so I personally feel if it is coming with the range of 270, 280, it is considered to be a value pick in this Diwali.
Okay, most of the PSU banks have come out with their numbers. In fact, all of them have come out. Would SBI be your, if you had to select one on the PSU banks, would SBI be your choice if you had to select a PSU banking?
My choice will be in two. One is SBI and another one is Bank of Baroda.
Okay.
The way the RBI has strengthened the policy in terms of disbursement of liquidation and everything, and the demerger of the smaller bank with the bigger bank. So I personally feel Bank of Baroda is also among the good structured, organized way of driving the business. If you look at the Bank of Baroda standalone profit and the performance, it is fantastic compared to the Dena Bank and Vijaya Bank for this matter. And when the Dena Bank and Vijaya Bank merger will comes in place, and it will be amongst the third largest bank in India. So I personally feel Bank of Baroda is also among the great choice.
Okay, before we move on, Hari, just one word on your front. Now that some of the PSU banks have started showing improvement as far as their finances are concerned, some of the private sector banks disappointed this time around because of certain exposure to island affairs. Some hidden skeletons have come out of the cupboard, and that's why you're seeing counters like IndusInd Bank fall. Yes Bank has problem of its own, and the NBFC space has fallen, and now it's showing some bit of improvement. So now you are at a phase. What do you select? Do you go in for, what's a safer bet? Buying PSU banks because valuations are low and probably there are some issues, private sector banks because you don't know what exactly is there, or would you go in for the NBFC?
See, we think two things are going to happen in this year. Number one, I heard a comment about SBI management on NPS, but I think, I would still believe that the NPS cycle should gradually, if not immediately this quarter, it is the next 2 or 3 quarters. That I think is positive. Number two, I think, like it or not, the RBI will be forced to relax the PCA norms. And that means we could see a lot more of the so-called PCA banks or the stressed banks coming back into the lending market. So PNB, I think a lot of them could actually come back into the lending market. So I think that is also going to be positive. In fact, when we wrote a note to the clients this time, we put as a SBI, BOB and Union Bank, the 3 PSU banks as our top picks on banking. We are actually a little cautious in the private banking space, either because valuations are too steep or there are some questions, like in case of IndusInd and Yes Bank, there are questions over the asset quality. So we are a little cautious in the private banking space. In fact, for this, between Sammat 75 and 76, our top pick actually is the private PSU banking space.
Okay, PSU banking space. Let's move on to the, and I think the consensus call on SBI is that it's worth an investment at this point of time. The next stock we want to talk about is Cipla. It's fallen more than 10% in the last 2 trading sessions. No doubt a miss as far as financials were concerned, but the management commentary also was extremely poor in terms of the supply side issue, in terms of the tendering market. So there seems to be issues for Cipla. Valuation not the cheapest of the stocks, and it has fallen 10%. What should one do of Cipla's numbers? What do you make of it, Ritesh? What did you make of Cipla's numbers in commentary?
See, definitely if you look at the numbers, like the way you have said, the management commentary also, it is really disappointed in terms of sales numbers are also not improving. If you see, the sales numbers have dropped by almost 2%. In terms of profit margin has also dropped by 12%. So I personally feel the way the growth structure have been considered, I think we need to consider to be a switch strategy, wherein you need to leave Cipla at whatever the exit price you are getting it and move to Oro Pharma. The Oro Pharma is a very structured way of doing the business, and 70% of the business is doing an international export of the medicines, wherein Europe and US is considering the major stake of the total sales, and they are getting a benefit of the rupee depreciation. And at the same time, compared to market P, it is considered to be quite cheaper. Like market P is running at around 38 and Oro P is running at around 28. In terms of their profit margin, it is much better compared to other peer groups in pharma. So my suggestion will be exit from the Cipla and move to Oro Pharma.
Okay, so that's the view that's coming in on Cipla. What did you make of it, Forum? What did you make of the numbers and management commentary for Cipla?
Yeah, of course, numbers are weak. Management commentary is also weak, and I think, as you rightly said, there are better opportunities at current level. The only positive I could say is the South Africa, region for Cipla is doing good, but now that contributes only 19% of the total revenue. So we feel that when there is issues in the H2 also, and management themselves have guided for a weaker commentary, it makes sense to switch to other pharma companies rather than sticking to this.
Which pharma companies are you recommending?
Yeah, so we like Jubilant Life Science. Even Oro Pharma, as you mentioned, is good. If you look at Jubilant Life Science, valuations are reasonable, and again performance is very well, and it's continuously doing very good. Performing continuously very well. So we feel that Jubilant Life Science is a better pick over Cipla.
Okay, Hari, what did you make of Cipla's numbers?
We actually like the stock, a couple of reasons. One is it's probably the one pharma stock that is least prone to the US FDA, compared to the others like probably a Reddy Labs or a Sun Pharma or a Lupin, which are a lot more US centric. Cipla relatively is less US centric. So to that extent, I think we like Cipla. Number two, you also need to understand that the latest quarter results that we saw, which was disappointing, was more because of the base effect. Because I think last July they had done a lot of restocking ahead of the launch of GST. So I think when you look at a higher base, obviously the stock is looking at the results are looking a little bad. If you remove the restocking, I think the results are not actually bad. So I think I would probably give them the benefit of doubt, and I would probably hold on to the stock at this point.
No, I think it was more than the result. It was if you saw the investor presentation, they mentioned 4 points in which they believe that what could be the concerns over the next few challenges, and supply chain is something that they say will get over at the end of the year. The tender business, they are saying there are issues, there are sanctions as far as their Middle East business is concerned, and the fourth one was supply chain issue, APIs from China, and that is going higher. So basically I think the market was, apart from the numbers, we were looking at the next 2 quarters, probably there won't be any growth. We asked them and they're saying that potentially they've done an EPS of 10 and last year they did 17, so there's a high possibility that they won't even match 17 this time. So I think that's the concern for Cipla.
Yes, I think numbers, we are already factoring that next 2 or 3 quarters are going to be a little bit of a problem. So I think numbers, we are also not too positive. But the point I'm trying to make is, there is nothing so earth-shatteringly wrong with Cipla. As I said, a lot of the concern came while the guidance was negative, did come because of the growth being less than what the markets had anticipated. And that I think is more because of GST restocking. So once you take that effect out, the results actually don't look that bad.
Okay, so that's the view that's coming in on Cipla at this point of time. 2 of our guests do believe that switch out of Cipla and move to counters. Ritesh is saying that Aurobindo Pharma is something that he likes. Jubilant Life Sciences is something that Forum has recommended. And Hari at this point of time is quite bullish on Cipla. He said that he will hold on to Cipla. The next stock we want to talk about is Jet Airways. Now has been doing well of late, but remember the counter has fallen off a cliff. It was trading at levels of close to 700 to 800 now and moved all the way close to 200 on issues. There were certain issues, obviously, crude going the way it is, competition the way it is picking up, and the more important, the salaries not being paid and cash crunch. So that's something that cracked the stock of Jet Airways. Now green shoots coming in the fact that certain international airlines, including Tata's, are looking to pick up stake and buy out the promoter stake in Jet Airways. Jet on its part has said that this news is speculation, but the counter of late has been reacting positively to this news. Crude has also been coming out, but we are asking, despite all the problems, would you venture and take a bet on this news or speculation that is there that could potentially turn around Jet Airways? So that's what we are asking. Forum, Jet Airways, it has all this problem, that's known. I don't know whether this deal will happen or no. That's something that's been speculated, and the management has said it's speculation. They haven't denied it. Would you take a contra bet on Jet at this point of time?
Yes, I will take a contra bet. Why? Because the prime reason is that crude has fallen down. So it's going to benefit across all the aviation companies in the sector. Secondly, if we see, the valuations are very reasonable. I mean, whatever the negatives is there, it's absolutely factored in the stock at current market price. I mean, if you look at the market cap to sales, it's even less than 1 times. And secondly, if you look at the PLF factor, of all the aviation companies, they are all increasing. Market share is increasing. So there's lots of demand in the sector. And I feel, Tata news is like a pure speculations, but, it's just like an icing on the cake. If that happens, it's very well. All the problems of the company internally would be solved. And if not, we have a major positive news of crude falling steeply, in this in the past few days. So that would also augur very good for the company and would expand the bottom line. Of course, yearly we might not see, because last year crude was at lower levels, but on a sequential basis we might definitely see an improvement. And I think there's lots of demand in the sector. So I would want to give a buy at current rate. The risk reward ratio is favorable, I believe, and as a result, it's a pure investment bet at current levels.
Okay, what's your pecking order in the three aviation companies?
Yeah, so I would want to go for Jet first. I would want to go for SpiceJet second and Indigo third, because even if you look at SpiceJet, quarter and quarter the company is doing improvement. I mean, it's been like 11 to 13 quarters in a row the company has posted profitable set of numbers, and margins are expanding. Of course, Indigo, if you see, because of a higher base effect, it has its own problems of margins not sustaining, and the aircraft's problem and everything. But we do not see such kind of problems in SpiceJet.
Okay.
Gradually, but then still it is improving its numbers rather than worst in the numbers. So I would want to go like for Jet Airways first, second SpiceJet, and third Indigo.
Hari, would you take a contra bet on Jet?
No, we are actually off the entire aviation space. I'll share very interesting statistics with you on aviation. The entire aviation sector in India is expected, as per CRISIL, to post a loss of about 9,500 crores in this particular financial year. Now, that is at a time when the global aviation industry is going to make a profit of over $32 billion. So, I think it's not about oil. It's about the fundamental problems that we are having in India. And that is that the gap between the RASK and the CASK is narrowing almost to negative levels. India is the only country among the major countries where the gap between RASK and CASK is actually negative. So unless that is reversed, and what I understand is that that is not going to change unless oil comes below $60 a barrel. I don't know where oil will go, but at least to me at this point of time, going below 60 looks to be highly unlikely, unless there is some major kind of a glut in supply or something. So to me, I think entire aviation is a strict no. Even if, let's say, we do look at aviation, we would probably look at an Indigo at slightly lower levels. But for us, I think something like a Jet which has too many inefficiencies built into its model, which still runs what I call the full service model, which is actually an inefficient model from a profit perspective, we wouldn't surely look at Jet. Probably, I think at lower levels, we would look at Indigo. But generally, aviation for us is a strict no.
Okay, that's the view. Ritesh, which side are you on? We have one positive side, one negative side.
Absolutely on the negative side.
Okay.
In the aviation segment, we are not recommending any of the stock as an investor point of view. It's very clear strategy when I'm investing something wherein there is no growth prospect can be easily visible in coming 2 or 3 quarters. It's better I should invest in such a sector which about to give me good amount of decent return in terms of the proper structure way. If you look at Jet Airways, the total loss have been reported around 638 crores, out of which the crude oil loss is coming to around 366 crores and rupee depreciation losses comes to around 158 crores. So I personally feel the dependency on the crude, fluctuation of the rupee, it's quite unstable model of doing business. Apart from that, the operating cost in terms of one-time maintenance charges, in terms of employee cost, it is not something comfortable in terms of making good amount of profit. In terms of revenue, if you look at on year basis, it is reported around 8%. So that is also fine, fair enough. So I'm not considering that the stock was running at around top and from 700 level I'm getting at around 250. It is considered to be a fair value. So I'm not comfortable in terms of the model of operating what they are into. So definitely aviation is negative for us.
Okay, so we have a 360-degree view as far as the aviation stocks are concerned. Forum likes Jet Airways, Jet, SpiceJet, Indigo is a preference. Hari said avoid aviation space, but if you are looking to invest at something, look at Indigo, and Ritesh here is indicating that he will stay away from the aviation pack. And since it's Diwali, we're asking our guest what kind of stocks and which is the top Diwali pick that they have for our viewers. So Hari, I'll start with you. Which is the top Diwali pick?
I have two actually. One is of course Tata Motors. I have been recommending this for the last I think 3 or 4 months, and people have been telling me that it's just going down. I think at this point of time, if you're looking at the next somewhat, 1 year from here, I would believe that the risk reward is extremely positive for Tata Motors. A lot of negativity was actually coming in from the JLR numbers, and JLR numbers were negative because of what is happening in China. See, we do believe that the trade war should gradually fizzle out. And if that happens, I think the so-called slowdown in China should come to an end and we should see demand picking up. So I would believe that JLR should probably turn around in the next couple of quarters, and that will start showing on Tata Motors. So we like Tata Motors. We think that at least a 30-40% upside in the next 1 year. The another stock is, I think, Bajaj Finance. And people keep saying that Bajaj Finance is still expensive. But what's going to happen in the NBFC space is that the gap between the companies with no asset liability mismatch and the companies with an asset liability mismatch is going to get wider. So today you can argue that Dewan Housing is available at 11 times, Indiabulls is at 10 times or whatever. But I think that could probably still go further down and Bajaj could go further up. So we are betting on Bajaj Finance getting better valuations, sustaining growth. Next 1 year, we have a 35-40% upside target on Bajaj Finance.
Okay, but what about competition in, because that HDFC Bank is coming big way in the consumer fare, because if you go to any of the supermarkets where electronics would, everyone is available. So I think that moat which was there, where they obviously do it most efficiently, but people are doing, so is that not a concern?
See, what I understand is HDFC Bank could probably make a dent in the urban areas, but Bajaj still gets about 65-70% of its revenues from the non-urban, the non-6-7 city centers. So that I don't think is going to get really impacted. And you know, I know of a lot of cases where HDFC and Bajaj have worked in tandem, where HDFC gives probably the AAA rated customer and Bajaj gives a AA rated customer. So that has been happening. So I don't think they should really encourage upon each other's paths too much.
Okay, so those are the two stocks that Hari spoke about, Tata Motors as well as Bajaj Finance. Forum, what's your Diwali pick?
Yeah, so we strongly recommend Aditya Birla Fashions, Retail Limited. The numbers just came 2 days back, and we saw there's significant improvement on every parameters. It is one of a successful turnaround company, and since the past 2 quarters, the company has been able to maintain its profit, and we can see a significant jump in the bottom line also. Now, if we look at the revenue drivers, each and every brand, the Madura Fashions, where it has the key brands like Peter England, Van Heusen, everywhere there's lots of tractions, numbers are doing good. The moat in this is, the Pantaloon business, which was not earlier doing good, is also now started doing good.
Okay.
Debt in the Pantaloons have started coming down, and again, they want to, I think on every parameters, if you see the margins increment and everything is visible. We have a strong festive season also, and now they have opened many stores also in tier 2 cities and all. And again, biggest thing they are betting on is on the women innerwear segment, which itself is a huge market, in itself. So I feel that this stock was poised to do really very good, and you can see good upside, of 15% from here on.
Okay.
And we have a coverage on this, and we believe that the target price for this stock should be at 222, levels. So we are very bullish on Aditya Birla.
What's the key risks that someone has to watch out when investing in Aditya Birla Fashion?
Yeah, so the key risk would be that, because of course, if the economy is not doing good, so the spending power would not be good, and that is why, that would lead to, fallout in the demand tractions. But I think, and whole, we see this is a sector where it's like a recession free. I mean, we do not really see any cut down happening in, apparel segment. So we feel that demand is ongoing, not only in festive, but even during the non-festive season. And that is why we would want to go ahead with, this stock.
Okay, so Aditya Birla Fashion is something that Forum is recommending. And what about you, Ritesh?
My bet will be more into the consumption. In consumption, there will be a furthermore bifurcate into the FMCG and the auto segment. I personally feel last year the per capita income of India was reported around $1,700, and it has been increased to $2,100 per capita income, and that's how the spending power in terms of FMCG and the auto numbers can easily visible. So my bet in the FMCG will be on Parag Mill and ITC. Parag Mill reported good numbers last quarter, and this quarter also I'm expecting due to festival season. The Parag Mill is among the top in terms of Govardhan ghee, in terms of required or maximum in the festival season. So I feel in terms of numbers, sales numbers are expected good amount, and that's how the adverse effect in terms of revenue profit margin is also increasing.
Okay.
So ITC is very defensive stock and quite range bound between 255 to 300 odd. But the way the company is coming up with 10,000 crores of deployment in terms of product diversion and expansion in the retail outlet. So I feel ITC is also going to be a strong bet for at least for the horizon of 1 year. In terms of auto segment, if you look at the auto industry is running at around 5% CAGR from last 5 years.
Okay.
And if you look at it is further bifurcated into two-wheelers, three-wheelers and the tractor segment also. In terms of domestic sales, it has increased by 7% on year-on-year basis. In two-wheeler, the sales have been reported by 35%. So in two-wheeler segment, Bajaj Auto will be my going to be a strong pick on this Diwali.
Okay, Bajaj Auto, what's the rationale? Or compared to others, why Bajaj Auto over the other two?
See, if we look at the sales number, it has reported by almost 43%. In terms of market PE, comparatively, it is quite cheaper. In terms of EPS, it is also quite better compared to TVS Motor and other peer groups. So that's how my bet will be on the Bajaj Auto.
Okay, that's it. Just a counter question on the two FMCG names. Parag Milk, anyway, it's more of a commodity business, and even the value added that they have it's not something that they only can make. It's more of a domestic play rather than this thing. So your view on that? And on ITC, obviously, it always trades at a cheaper multiple, given that majority of their revenue comes in from the cigarette business, which it's subject to regulatory issues.
Correct.
So yeah, these are the risks. Just wanted to respond. Your response on how do you see these risks?
There is no risk per se, because now the ITC is not only focus segment for the cigar business. It is definitely now diversified into hotel business and the dairy products and many more. So I don't think so that segment is going to be affected to overall the structure of the ITC.
80% of their revenues will come in only from the cigarette business. Even though the FMCG, I think hardly, I'm not too sure, but I think it hardly breaks even. It's just managing to that. So till that time, I think ITC will be solely dependent on the cigarette business.
Yeah, absolutely, you are right on that segment. But the way the capital deployment have been done, I think it is 2 years back. Okay. So they are worse to come out above break even.
Okay.
So it is not like they have reinvested right now and the break even point will take another year or two. So it is already invested 2 years back. Okay. So now it is going to be perform above a break even. In terms of Parag Milk was running at around 335 and today is running at around 250, 260 odd numbers. In spite of the company has come out with a good amount of sales and the profit reported last year, I personally feel it isn't considered to be a best value pick. Having an horizon for 12 years at least. So that's how I like the Parag Milk in terms of products and the monopoly of the Govardhan ghee what they have.
12 years or 12 months?
I'm so sorry, it is a 12 months definitely, because we are talking about Diwali picks, so this Diwali to next Diwali.
Okay, I was a little confused there. But nevertheless, okay, so those are the picks that our guests have spoken about. Ritesh he's given 3 picks. In fact, I think all our guests are generous today, giving more picks than one. But Parag Milk, ITC as well as Bajaj Auto seems to be the picks that Ritesh is speaking about. But with that, it's a wrap on today's Hot Money. Ritesh, thank you so much. Forum, Hari, thank you so much for coming in. Happy Diwali to all of you. Happy Diwali to our viewers. Ask BQ comes up next. Stay tuned to Bloomberg Quint.
Good news, guys. Got a promotion and a damn